This week I'm driving the 2022 Hyundai Elantra N. For 2022, Hyundai offer us the ultra performance model of the Elantra, the N. Now the N treatment is not only for the Veloster, but also for the Elantra and the new Kona N. Under the hood, we can find a 4-cylinder 2-liter turbo, good for 276 horsepower and 289 foot-pounds of torque. This engine is matched to a 6-speed manual transmission, or you can get also the dual clutch transmission. This is a 8-speed. So I'm gonna go on the road, see how this N model perform. All right, I'm gonna test the acceleration with the Elantra N. I've got a launch control, I've got a manual transmission, got some decent condition for the first time this year. Let's go. All right, you can do the 0 to 100 kilometers in about 5.2 seconds. This week I had a little bit hard time to hook up, off the line. The e-diff doesn't do the job as well as the one we can find inside of the Hyundai Veloster N, and I've been testing the Veloster N in some really bad condition also, and it was doing a really good job. And I'm not sure why. Maybe I need to play a little bit more with the N modes and all that. But every time I was really trying to push, this front wheel drive with a lot of power, it was wheel hopping instead of hooking up, or instead of losing traction and spinning a little bit. I don't like that when you've got that wheel hop, especially in a front wheel drive. The e-diff wasn't doing a good job for me this week. On the road with the Elantra N this week. Sharp steering wheel, good handling for this type of car, especially for a front wheel drive. We can really push it down the curve. We got some good tires, good suspension, adjustable suspension, and also we got some reinforcement for the structure. We can notice when we open the trunk, we've got those red braces, really tuner style. Really like that. It's really fun to drive. Easily you can bring this car to the track, just the way it drives. Obviously, because it's kind of like track focus, it's not the most comfortable ride on the road. Suspension is pretty harsh, especially for our fantastic road here in Quebec. And the seats are way too small for someone who's got a body type like mine. I'm too tall, too large, too big for these seats. Even in my good old days when I was really skinny, I would be too large and too tall for these seats. They're really made for a really slim and short persons, human, I could say. I wish we could probably have like an optional comfort seats, just like the ones we find in the Ford Mustang. Just way too tight. Even my wife, who's really smaller than me and kind of petite, she said it was a little bit too harsh, too small, too aggressive for daily use. So it's an N model, so we've got the N mode on the screen. We can adjust a bunch of things with that N mode, and this is really kind of like the options and the things we can fine-tune inside of an SRT, AMG, or M model from BMW. Really, sport cars, sport models with double of the price of this Elantra, and this is really cool. We can adjust the engine, the steering, the suspension, the rev matching, the ELSD, the traction control, and also the exhaust. Really cool to have an adjustable exhaust. We can put it in eco mode. This is kind of like the quiet mode. It's gonna really shut off the sound of it. But when you put it in the N mode, it really sounds, it pops, it crackles. As you can see, really decent. I'm not a big fan of four-cylinder like exhaust note, but I think the Hyundai team have done a good job with this exhaust. Speaking of the Rev Match, we've got a red button on the steering wheel. If you don't know what the Rev Match is, when you're equipped with a manual transmission like this Elantra N, you can downshift and it's gonna keep the revolution to a higher RPM, to the right RPM, I could say. These are technologies we could find back in the days, more in the Corvettes and all that. Really cool. I love this technology. It's basically you're able to blip your engine without doing all the foot dancing, pressing on the three pedals at the same time. Really useful when you're at the racetrack, downshifting, and also keeping your engine in the right RPM to have the maximum peak horsepower and torque. This is really cool. Taking a look at the design of the Elantra N, we can notice it's an N model. We've got a different bumper in the front. We've got some special wheels, performance tires, performance brake. We've got some side skirt on the side. We've got also some red line all around this Elantra N. We got that special blue. This is like the launch color for this car. It's a little bit too flashy for my point of view, a little bit too toyish, I could say. In the back, we've got a funky spoiler and a dual exhaust with some big tips for that performance exhaust. We can easily notice it's a N model. Stepping inside of the Elantra N, it's basically the same as any other Elantra, but we've got some special seats. Obviously, we've got a lot of touch and suede. We got some blue stitching, blue touches on the shifter, and also we've got some blue button on the steering wheel. These blue buttons are for your N mode, your custom 1 and custom 2, similar to the one you can find inside of a BMW M. So you can pre-configure your mode. Stepping in the back, plenty of space, but everything is in suede. So if you have younger kids and they're messy, this is probably not the ideal material for them, but otherwise easy to use. Climate control, the screen works really well. We've got obviously that N mode screen to play with all the options and the feature. This is really cool. Cluster are all digital in front of me. The left, it looks like a screen, but it's just like a fake screen. It doesn't do anything. In the Elantra N line, that's where we could find the button to change our modes, but now it's just like a fake screen. I think this is kind of funky from my point of view. If we take a look at the trunk, plenty of space, but with those big braces, maybe you're limited to put larger object inside of your Elantra N, so you have to keep that in mind. Fuel economy wise, this week I was averaging 9 liters per 100 kilometers. Obviously, I was driving kind of like sporty, high revving, high changing gears and all that. You're probably able to go down in the 8 and 7 liters per 100 kilometers. Great for a daily, great for that power and that size of car. I think, it's cool to have like decent fuel economy, but still able to go to the racetrack on the weekend. So on this side, great fuel economy for a daily driver. Price-wise, the model I'm driving this week is good for $37,199 because it's a manual. If you opt for the DCT transmission, it's good for $38,799. So not a ton of option for the Elantra N. It's basically automatic or manual. It comes fully loaded. From my point of view, I wish we could have a little bit more option when it comes to those kind of like enthusiast model, to have it more personalized to your taste, maybe having an option for the seats. This is my point of view. Obviously, choosing between the manual and the DCT, I would choose the manual any day, especially with the Rev Match. It's a better experience behind the wheel. It's way much more fun. The DCT works pretty well. I drove it in the Veloster N, but I like that manual transmission. It's so cool when we downshift with the Rev Match. Overall, I really like that Elantra N. I think it's a great deal for the price. It's cheaper than the competition, but still in that price range, I would easily, invest a little bit more money to have more comfort, and also having an all-wheel drive system. With this kind of power, with the front-wheel drive, you're always going to be limited in the grip because it's a front-wheel drive. I think having close to 300 horsepower for a front-wheel drive, it's really the limit, for the grip, and also the handling on the racetrack. Even if you're adding 50 to 100 more horsepower, you won't be really quicker of the line, maybe in a straight line, but because it's a front-wheel drive, you're always going to be limited by the traction. So this is why I would prefer something more probably all-wheel drive, or if you live in the South, probably something it was going to be rear-wheel drive. I had my share of front-wheel drive cars when I was younger, and I was always limited by that traction. Even with the e-diff, it was working pretty well inside of the Veloster N, but this week I was not impressed inside of this Elantra N. So let me know in the comments, what do you think about this Elantra N? Is it cool? Do you like the look, or you hate it? This week had both comments. It was really black and white. It was either people love it or hate it. So don't forget to subscribe, like, and share, and we're gonna see each other on the next review.